The emergency beacon cut through the void of space like a scream. On the ocean world of Aquanis, Rill pressed his webbed hands against the communication console and watched the numbers fall. 30% of the surface cities remained functional. 29%. 28. The Ravager swarms were eating his world alive. Around him, the Thalosi command center buzzed with desperate activity. His people moved through the water-filled chambers with frantic purpose, their bioluminescent skin flashing distress patterns that needed no translation. They were dying, and everyone knew it. "Send another request to the Galactic Council," Rill said, his voice carrying through the water. His translator box converted the sounds into something other species could understand, though he doubted anyone was listening anymore. The communications officer, a young Thalosi named Finn, shook his head. "Sir, we have sent 47 requests in the past 3 cycles. The council chambers have gone silent. They will not help us." Rill felt the weight of those words settle in his chest. The Galactic Council had 15 member species, thousands of ships, and unlimited resources. But fear was a powerful thing. The Ravager swarms had consumed 12 civilizations in the past century. No one wanted to be the 13th. Through the transparent walls of the command center, Rill could see the dark shapes moving through the water above. Ravager organisms, each the size of a transport vessel, their biomechanical bodies pulsing with stolen energy. They drained the oceans, consumed the minerals, and turned everything into more of themselves. In 3 weeks, Aquanis would be a dead husk. "There must be someone," Rill whispered. He pulled up the council database and scrolled through the member species. The Korthan Empire, military specialists who prided themselves on strength. Status: denied assistance, threat level too high. The Velen Collective, technological masters with advanced weapons. Status: evacuating their embassy, no aid offered. The Draxian clans, the Yithian lords, the Quellan network. All the same, all afraid. Rill's hand hovered over the final entry in the database. It was barely a footnote added just 2 cycles ago. Species: human. Origin: Sol system, 3rd planet. Status: provisional contact, pre-integration evaluation pending. There was a note attached: caution advised. Species demonstrates concerning levels of aggression and risk-taking behavior. Diplomatic refinement required before full council membership. Aggressive and risk-taking. Rill almost laughed. Those were exactly the qualities his people needed right now. "Finn, can you access the human contact frequency?" The young officer looked confused. "Sir, the humans are not council members. They have no obligation to respond. The council has not even completed their evaluation. They are considered primitive by most standards." "Then we have nothing to lose by asking," Rill said. He opened the communication channel himself, fingers moving across the holographic controls. The signal would take hours to reach the human homeworld. He did not have hours, but he did not have any other options either. Rill took a breath of the nutrient-rich water and began to speak. "This is Ambassador Rill of the Thalosi people. Our world is dying. The Ravager swarms are consuming everything we have built, everything we are. The Galactic Council will not help us. We know you do not know us. We know you owe us nothing. But if there is any compassion in your species, if there is any courage, we are asking for help. We are begging for it. Our children are dying, please." He ended the transmission and felt the emptiness that followed. Finn and the other officers said nothing. What could they say? They had just asked for help from a species that barely understood faster-than-light travel, a species the Council considered too violent and unpredictable for proper civilization. 6 hours passed. The Ravager swarms pushed deeper into the cities. Evacuation shuttles launched from the surface, carrying what few Thalosi they could hold. There was nowhere to evacuate to, not really, but at least in orbit they might survive a few days longer. Rill remained at his station, watching the sensors. He did not pray. The Thalosi had moved beyond religion millennia ago, but he hoped, which was almost the same thing. The sensor board lit up without warning. Energy signatures, massive ones, appearing at the edge of the star system. Finn nearly jumped out of his skin. Sir, unknown vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. Count is. Count is 47 ships. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures are enormous. Rill felt his heart's hammering in his chest. Ravager reinforcements. No, sir, the signatures are wrong. These are military vessels, proper warships, and they are broadcasting on our emergency frequency. The communication channel crackled to life. The voice that came through was firm, female, and spoke the common galactic language with a strange accent that the translator struggled to process. Thalosi Command, this is Admiral Patricia Cole of the Human Expeditionary Force. We received your distress call 6 hours ago. We mobilized everything we could get into space on short notice. We are entering your system now, and we are here to help. Please transmit coordinates of Ravager concentrations and civilian evacuation zones. We will handle the rest. Rill could not speak. Around him, the command center had gone silent. 47 warships. They had actually come. The species everyone else dismissed as primitive and violent had crossed the galaxy to help people they had never met. Finn found his voice first. Sir, what do we tell them? Rill straightened, feeling something he had not felt in weeks. Hope. Tell them everything. Give them full access to our tactical network. And Finn, send a message to all Thalosi forces. Tell them help has arrived. Tell them the humans are here. Above Aquanis, the human fleet began its approach, and the Ravager swarms were about to learn what aggression and risk-taking really meant. The first human ship to break orbit was a destroyer called the Defiant. Commander Lisa Grant watched through the viewscreen as the Ravager bioships swarmed around a Thalosi civilian transport, their mechanical tendrils ripping into the hull. The transport was dying, and 300 people were inside. Weapons range in 20 seconds, her tactical officer reported. Too long, Grant said. She turned to her helmsman. Emergency thrust. Put us between that transport and the nearest Ravager, now. The Defiant screamed forward, her engines burning at 130% capacity. Alarms blared across the bridge, warning of structural stress and heat buildup. Grant ignored them all. The destroyer slammed into position just as a Ravager bioship, a thing that looked like a whale made of metal and flesh, turned its attention to the transport. Fire everything, Grant ordered. Railgun rounds tore through the void at a fraction of light speed. Missile pods opened and launched their payloads in a continuous stream. Energy weapons carved burning lines across the Ravager's hide. The creature screamed, a sound that somehow transmitted through the vacuum of space and turned toward the Defiant. It is approaching fast, the tactical officer said, his voice tight. Collision course. Let it come, Grant said. She switched to the ship-wide channel. All hands brace for impact. Damage control teams to standby positions. The Ravager crashed into the Defiant's forward shields like a battering ram. The ship shuddered. Sparks flew from control panels. 2 crew members were thrown from their seats despite the safety restraints. But the shields held, and the Defiant's close-range weapons chewed into the Ravager at point-blank distance. The creature tried to wrap its tendrils around the destroyer, tried to drain its power and tear it apart. Instead, it found itself being pulled into the Defiant's ventral weapons array. Grant had deliberately positioned her ship to maximize damage output. Keep firing, burn through every reserve we have. The Ravager's biomechanical body began to break apart. Chunks of organic metal spun away into space. Its scream became a death rattle, and then it went silent. The massive corpse drifted away, leaking fluids that froze instantly in the void. Grant checked her tactical display. The Thalosi transport was moving away, damaged but intact. Get a damage report and move to the next engagement. We have 46 more ships out there doing the same thing. Let us make sure we keep up. Across the system, The human fleet tore into the Ravager swarms with a ferocity that shocked everyone watching. The Thalosi had fought defensively, trying to protect what they had. The humans fought like they had come here specifically to hurt something, and the Ravagers were it. Admiral Cole directed the battle from her flagship, the carrier Wellington. She stood in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing every ship, every enemy, and every civilian zone that needed protection. Her staff worked with practiced efficiency, calling out coordinates and status reports. "Ma'am, the Ravagers are starting to withdraw from Sector 7, her executive officer reported. They are regrouping around their larger vessels. They are learning, Cole said. They thought we would run when they showed their numbers. Now they know we do not run. She highlighted 3 sections of the battle space. Pull back strike groups Delta and Foxtrot. Let the Ravagers think they are winning that area. Then hit them from above and below with everything Echo and Golf groups have. That will leave our flanks exposed. Only for 90 seconds. The Ravagers will not adapt that fast. Cole allowed herself a thin smile. Not yet, anyway. The trap worked perfectly. Ravager bioships swarmed into the gap the humans had left, searching for an advantage. Then human destroyers dropped on them from high orbit while cruisers swept up from the planet's shadow. The Ravagers found themselves in a kill box, taking fire from every direction. In the Thalosi command center, Rill watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and horror. The humans fought with a precision that seemed at odds with their aggressive tactics. They took risks that would make any sane military commander sick, but those risks were calculated. They knew exactly how much damage they could take, how close they could get, and when to pull back. "Sir, Admiral Cole is requesting a direct communication link," Finn said. Rill activated the channel. The human admiral appeared on his screen, her face calm despite the chaos of battle happening around her. "Ambassador Rill, we need information. These creatures are adapting to our tactics faster than we anticipated. How long have they been in your system?" 3 weeks, Rill replied. "They appeared without warning and began their assault immediately." Cole frowned. 3 weeks is a long time for them to learn your defenses. We need to know their command structure. Is there a central intelligence directing them, or are they operating as independent units? "We do not know. Our scientists were not able to study them safely. Every ship we sent for observation was destroyed." "Then we will have to figure it out the hard way." Cole glanced at something off-screen. "We are deploying capture teams. Small craft with specialized equipment to trap one of the smaller Ravager organisms. If we can study one, we can find their weaknesses." Rill felt a chill run through his body. "Admiral, that is extremely dangerous. The Ravagers consume any biological matter they contact. Your people will be killed." "Then we will make sure they do not get the chance." Cole's expression softened slightly. "Ambassador, I appreciate your concern, but humans have dealt with dangerous things before. Sometimes you have to get close to the monster to learn how to kill it." The communication ended, and Rill watched as human boarding craft launched from their carriers. They were flying directly toward Ravager bioships, intent on capturing something that had killed billions. He did not know whether to admire their courage or question their sanity. Above Aquanis, the battle raged on, and the humans showed no signs of backing down. Dr. Raymond Hayes stood in the containment lab aboard the Wellington and stared at the thing they had captured. It writhed inside a reinforced containment field, its biomechanical body pulsing with an eerie bioluminescent glow. The Ravager specimen was small, about the size of a human torso, but it radiated malevolence. "Fascinating and horrible at the same time," Hayes muttered. His assistant, a young biologist named Sarah Kim, checked the containment field readings for the 5th time in as many minutes. "Are you sure this field will hold it?" she asked. "Reasonably sure," Hayes said. He tapped commands into his console, activating a suite of scanning equipment. The field generates a frequency that disrupts the organic components while suppressing the mechanical systems. As long as nothing goes wrong, we should be safe. Should be is not a phrase I like hearing in xenobiology. Hayes chuckled despite the tension. Welcome to first contact biology. Everything is should be until we know better. He leaned closer to the containment unit, studying the creature's structure. Look at this. The biological tissue is not native to any known species. It has been heavily modified, almost engineered. And the mechanical parts are not built, they are grown. Grown, how is that possible? Nanotechnology, maybe, or something beyond our current understanding. Hayes ran a spectral analysis and frowned at the results. The DNA structure is fragmented, like it was taken from multiple sources and stitched together. This thing is not a natural organism. It is a weapon. The containment field flickered. Just for a second, but enough to make both scientists step back. The Ravager reacted immediately, slamming itself against the field boundaries with renewed fury. Stabilize the field, Hayes barked. Sarah's fingers flew across the controls. Power fluctuation in the generator, compensating now. Field is holding at 92%. The Ravager stopped moving. It hung in the center of the containment field, and Hayes could swear the thing was watching him, studying him the same way he was studying it. The thought sent a chill down his spine. His communicator buzzed. Admiral Cole's voice came through, crisp and clear. Dr. Hayes, what have you learned? The Ravagers are not natural, Admiral. They are constructed, probably by some advanced civilization that wanted the perfect weapon. The biological and mechanical systems work together in ways I have never seen. They adapt, they learn, and they consume everything to fuel their reproduction. Can we kill them? Hayes hesitated. Yes, but not easily. Their adaptive capabilities mean they will develop resistance to whatever we use. We need to find the source, the intelligence directing them. Cut off the head and the body dies. We suspected as much. Keep studying that specimen. We need every advantage we can get. 3 levels below the lab, in the Wellington Strategic Planning Room, Admiral Cole stood with Commander Voss of the Thalosi Defense Forces. The Thalosi officer had requested transport to the human flagship, wanting to coordinate efforts more directly. Cole had agreed immediately. Voss was older than most Thalosi, his bioluminescent patterns dimmed with age and stress. He moved through the air-filled corridors of the human ship with obvious discomfort, his environment suit providing the water-based atmosphere his species needed. But he had insisted on coming. Your people fight with a savagery I have never witnessed, Voss said, his translator rendering his words into perfect English. But it is not mindless. Every attack has purpose. Every sacrifice means something. How do you train your soldiers to be so fearless? Cole considered the question. We do not train them to be fearless. We train them to be brave. Fear is natural. Acting despite that fear is what matters. She pulled up a tactical display. Commander, we have analyzed the Ravager attack patterns. They are concentrating their forces around 3 key areas of your planet. What is significant about these locations? Voss studied the map, his large eyes widening. Those are our primary geothermal vents. They provide power to 70% of our remaining cities. If the Ravagers control those areas, they control our energy infrastructure. Then that is where we hit them next. Cole highlighted the vents on the display. We will insert ground teams to secure the facilities. Your people know the terrain. My people know how to fight in hostile environments. Together, we can take those vents back. Admiral, the vents are deep underwater, in regions of intense pressure and heat. The Ravagers have fortified those positions heavily. It will be a death trap. Only if we walk into it unprepared. Cole smiled. Commander, humans evolved on a death world. High gravity, violent weather, and more things trying to kill us than you can imagine. We are very good at operating in hostile environments. Trust me. 6 hours later, Combined human Thalosi strike teams descended into the depths of Aquanis. The human Marines wore powered armor designed for extreme pressure, their suits bristling with weapons and sensors. The Thalosi guides moved through the water with natural grace, their knowledge of the terrain invaluable. Sergeant Maria Torres led one of the human squads, her heads-up display painting the murky water with tactical overlays. Contact ahead, multiple Ravager organisms blocking the vent entrance. Her squad spread out, taking positions behind thermal vents and rock formations. The Thalosi guides, including a young soldier named Kel, provided targeting data on weak points in the Ravager defenses. "On my mark," Torres said. She armed a series of specialized grenades designed by Dr. Hayes based on his analysis. The grenades emitted a frequency that disrupted Ravager biological systems. 3, 2, 1 mark. The water erupted with weapons fire. Human railguns launched specialized ammunition that traveled true even through the dense liquid. Thalosi energy weapons carved through Ravager hide. The grenades detonated, and the creatures convulsed as their systems failed. But the Ravagers fought back. One of the larger organisms charged directly at Torres, its mechanical jaws wide enough to swallow her whole. She fired her main weapon until it ran dry, then drew her plasma cutter and dodged sideways. The creature shot past her, and she activated the cutter, slicing through its flank as it went by. Kel watched the human sergeant fight with something approaching disbelief. The Thalosi had always been peaceful. They had no warriors, no soldiers, only defenders who fought when absolutely necessary. These humans fought like it was what they were born to do. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When it ended, the vent entrance was clear, and the strike team moved inside to secure the facility. Torres checked her squad, confirming everyone was intact. "Good work, people, Thalosi friends too," she nodded to Kel. "You have good aim." Kel felt something strange, pride maybe. "You fight well for air breathers." Torres laughed. "We will take that as a compliment." The Galactic Council chamber fell silent when the transmission from Aquanis reached them. High Counselor Thrain, a towering reptilian being from the Corthan Empire, watched the footage with growing concern. Human warships engaged Ravager bioships in brutal close-quarters combat. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Ships on both sides were destroyed, but the humans kept pressing forward. "This is madness," Thrain hissed. "The humans are sacrificing themselves for a species they barely know, for a world that means nothing to their interests." Counselor Estra, representing the Velen Collective, adjusted her sensory apparatus. "Perhaps that is precisely why they fight. They have no political calculations, no strategic interests. They simply responded to a call for help." "Foolish sentiment will get them killed," Thrain said. "The Ravagers have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than humanity. These primitives will be consumed like all the others." "And yet," Estra said quietly, "they are winning." The council chamber's main display showed the tactical situation. The human fleet had pushed the Ravagers back from 3 major population centers. Ground teams had secured critical infrastructure. Thalosi casualties had dropped by 60% since the humans arrived. The numbers did not lie. "We should have helped," another counselor said. This one was Pell, a floating gas being from the Quellan network. "The Thalosi asked us repeatedly. We abandoned them out of fear." "Prudence, not fear," Thrain corrected. "We preserved our forces rather than throwing them away on a lost cause." "A lost cause that is now being won by a species we dismissed as too primitive for membership." Pell's voice carried an edge of shame. "What does that say about us?" The debate continued, but the answer was already clear to everyone present. The Galactic Council had failed the Thalosi. The humans had not. Back on Aquanis, Admiral Cole studied the latest intelligence reports in her ready room. Dr. Hayes had requested an urgent meeting, and his expression suggested the news was not good. "We have a problem," Hayes said, pulling up a holographic display. "The Ravager specimen we captured has been transmitting data. We did not detect it at first because the signal is biological, not electromagnetic. It has been sending information about our ships, our tactics, and our weapons." Cole's jaw tightened. "To what?" "To something much larger." Hayes expanded the display, showing sensor readings from deep space. "There is a massive object on the edge of the system. We thought it was an asteroid at first, but it is moving, and it is heading directly toward the main Ravager fleet concentration. Size estimate: 20 kilometers across, maybe more. The sensor readings are difficult to interpret because the thing is shielded by some kind of organic field." Hayes met Cole's eyes. "Admiral, I think this is the Ravager Queen Mind, the central intelligence controlling the entire swarm." Cole processed this information. "If we destroy it, do the others stop?" "Theoretically, yes. But Admiral, that thing has been receiving tactical data about our entire fleet. It knows our capabilities, our weaknesses, and our deployment patterns. It is adapting its forces specifically to counter us." "Then we adapt faster." Cole activated her command channel. "All ships, this is the Admiral. We have confirmed the presence of a Ravager command organism in the system. New orders are being distributed now. Strike groups Alpha through Charlie will maintain defensive positions around Aquanis. All other groups will prepare for a direct assault on the target." Her executive officer appeared on the screen. "Ma'am, that leaves the planet with minimal coverage. If the Ravagers press their attack here while we are engaged elsewhere, then Commander Voss and his people will have to hold the line. We cannot fight a defensive war against an enemy that adapts this quickly. We need to take out their brain." In the Thalosi Command Center, Rill received the human battle plan with a mixture of gratitude and terror. The humans were going to take most of their fleet away from Aquanis to attack the Queen Mind. It was a brilliant strategy, but it left his world exposed. Commander Voss floated beside him, reading the same data. "The humans trust us to defend our own world while they handle the real threat. That is both an honor and a tremendous responsibility." "Can we hold if the Ravagers attack in force?" Rill asked. "We have to." Voss straightened, his old body showing signs of renewed vigor. "The humans have shown us how to fight. They have given us weapons, tactics, and most importantly, hope. We will not waste their sacrifice." Rill sent confirmation to Admiral Cole, then addressed all Thalosi forces. "Our friends are about to face the greatest danger to buy us a chance at survival. We will prove ourselves worthy of that chance. Prepare all defensive positions. Ready every weapon. If the Ravagers come, we will show them that the Thalosi have learned what it means to fight." The human fleet began to move. 29 warships broke orbit, leaving 18 behind to support the Thalosi defenders. Admiral Cole watched from the Wellington's bridge as her fleet formed up for the attack run. "Navigation, plot a course directly to the target. Maximum combat speed," she ordered. "Admiral, at that speed we will have minimal time to maneuver if the Ravagers intercept us," her helmsman warned. "I am counting on it. They will expect us to approach cautiously. We are going to hit them so fast they will not have time to adapt." Cole addressed her fleet. "All ships, this is going to be rough. The Ravagers will throw everything at us to protect their queen. Some of us will not make it back. But if we succeed, we save an entire species and prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Make your ancestors proud." The fleet accelerated. Behind them, Aquanis grew smaller. Ahead, the Ravager Queen Mind waited, surrounded by hundreds of bioships that had pulled back from the planet to defend their master. Lieutenant Amy Norton sat in the cockpit of her fighter, one of 40 launched from the Wellington's flight deck. She checked her weapons systems and thought about her family back on Earth. They would never know about this battle, probably. It was happening too far away, too fast for news to reach home. But she would know, and that was enough. "All fighters form on me," her squadron leader ordered. We are going in first. Clear a path for the capital ships. Norton armed her missiles and pushed her throttle forward. Around her, human and Thalosi ships raced toward the largest battle any of them had ever seen. The Ravager Queen Mind pulsed with malevolent energy, and its children swarmed to meet the attackers. The final battle for Aquanis had begun. The first wave of Ravager bioships hit the human fleet like a tsunami. They came from every direction, abandoning any pretense of tactical formation. The Queen Mind had commanded them to overwhelm the attackers through sheer numbers, and there were hundreds of them. Lieutenant Norton jinked her fighter hard to port, avoiding a collision with a Ravager drone by mere meters. Her targeting computer screamed warnings as 3 more locked onto her position. She rolled, dove, and fired a burst from her cannons that tore through one of the pursuers. The other 2 kept coming. "Norton, you have company," her wingman called out. "I noticed," she replied through gritted teeth. She pulled her fighter into a climb that would have knocked out any unaugmented human, relying on her pressure suit to keep her conscious. The GS were crushing, but the maneuver worked. One Ravager overshot her position. She flipped end over end and put 3 missiles into its propulsion system. The creature exploded in a burst of organic matter and twisted metal. The third Ravager was smarter. It matched her movements, staying just outside her weapon's range while herding her away from the fleet. Norton realized what it was doing and smiled grimly. "You want to separate me from the pack. Let us see how that works out for you." She cut her engines completely and spun her fighter around. For 3 seconds she was a sitting target, drifting on momentum alone. The Ravager took the bait and charged. Norton waited until she could see the details of its biomechanical face, then fired everything. Cannons, missiles, and her emergency plasma charge all went off simultaneously. The Ravager dissolved in a ball of superheated gas. Norton restarted her engines and rejoined the formation, her fighter trailing smoke from a damaged cooling system. She had maybe 10 minutes of combat capability left, and she intended to use every second. On the Wellington's bridge, Admiral Cole watched the tactical display with the intensity of a chess master studying a board. The Ravager Queen Mind was hiding behind its swarm, protected by layers of bioships that fought with coordinated precision. Every time Cole's ships found an opening, the Ravagers adapted and closed it. "Ma'am, we are losing fighters faster than we can replace them," her air boss reported. "Squadrons are down to 60% strength. Pull them back to defensive positions around the capital ships. Launch the second wave of ground teams," Cole ordered. "Ground teams? Admiral, we are in open space." "The Queen Mind has a physical form. That means it has a hull, and hulls can be breached." Cole highlighted the massive organism on the display. "We are going to board that thing." Her executive officer looked at her like she had lost her mind. "Admiral, we do not even know if our people can survive inside that creature. It could be toxic, hostile to life, or filled with internal defenses we cannot predict." "Then we will find out." Cole switched to the Marine channel. "Sergeant Torres, you are cleared for Operation Spearhead. Take your teams and breach that organism. Find its central nervous system or whatever passes for a brain and destroy it." Torres and her Marines were already suited up in their boarding craft, waiting for the order. She checked her squad's equipment one final time. 50 humans and 20 Thalosi volunteers, including Kell, who had insisted on joining after the vent operations. "You heard the Admiral," Torres said. "We are going inside that thing. Stay close, watch your corners, and remember your training. Whatever is in there, we have faced worse." One of the Marines, a young man named Chen, raised his hand. "Sarge, have we actually faced worse than this?" Torres thought about it. "No, but there is a first time for everything. Lock and load." The boarding craft launched from the Wellington, streaking toward the Queen Mind under cover from the fleet's weapons. Ravager bioships tried to intercept, but the human destroyers ran interference, sacrificing armor and systems to keep the path clear. Tors watched through the craft's viewport as they approached the Queen Mind. Up close, it was even more horrifying. The thing pulsed with bioluminescent veins that ran across its surface like rivers of light. Organic structures that might have been weapons or sensors dotted its hull, and it was moving, writhing, as if aware of the approaching threat. 30 seconds to impact, the pilot announced. Tors activated her breaching charges. Everyone brace, this is going to be rough. The boarding craft slammed into the Queen Mind's surface and the charges detonated. The hull, if it could be called that, tore open. Tors and her team poured through the breach, weapons ready. Inside the Queen Mind was a nightmare. The corridors, if they could be called corridors, were organic tunnels that pulsed with alien life. The air was breathable but smelled of copper and ozone. Strange growths lined the walls, and the floor beneath their boots felt uncomfortably alive. "Spread out and search for anything that looks like a command center," Tors ordered, "and watch for hostiles." They did not have to wait long. Things that might have been Ravager defense organisms scuttled out of the walls. They were smaller than the bioships but no less deadly, with razor-sharp limbs and acidic secretions that ate through armor. The humans and Thalosi fought together, covering each other's blind spots. Kell discovered that Ravager organisms were vulnerable to concentrated energy bursts, while the humans found that their explosive rounds worked well against the armored variants. They pushed deeper into the Queen Mind, following the bioluminescent veins that seemed to converge toward the center. Dr. Hayes's voice crackled over the command channel, broadcasting to the entire boarding team. "I am reading massive energy fluctuations from your position. The Queen Mind knows you are inside it. It is going to try to flush you out or digest you. Move faster." Tors led her team through a twisting passage that opened into a vast chamber. At its center was something that defied description. A biomechanical construct the size of a building, pulsing with energy and covered in neural pathways that connected to every surface of the chamber. The Queen Mind's brain. "There," Tors said. "That is our target. Plant the charges and let us end this." But the chamber was not empty. Dozens of Ravager organisms emerged from alcoves in the walls, moving to protect their queen. And behind them, something larger stirred. A guardian organism, built specifically to defend the Central Intelligence. Tors checked her ammunition counter and smiled without humor. Well, nobody said this would be easy, for Aquanis. The final battle inside the Queen Mind began, and the fate of an entire world hung in the balance. The guardian organism moved like liquid death. It stood 3 times the height of a human, its body a fusion of organic muscle and metallic plating. 6 limbs ended in blades that could cut through battle armor, and its eyeless head tracked movement through thermal and electromagnetic sensors. Tors ordered her team to split up. "Flank it from both sides. Focus fire on the joints. Kell, you and your people hit it with everything you have when I give the signal." The Guardian charged. Tors dove right while Chen went left. The creature's blade limbs carved through the space where they had been standing, leaving deep gouges in the organic floor. Tors came up firing, her railgun rounds sparking off the Guardian's armor. The creature turned toward her fast, too fast. Tors barely got her shield up before it struck. The impact sent her flying backward into a wall. Her armor's structural integrity warning screamed in her helmet. Kell and the other Thalosi opened fire from elevated positions, their energy weapons finding gaps in the Guardian's plating. The creature roared, a sound that made the entire chamber vibrate and leaped toward them. Chen threw himself in its path, triggering an explosive charge at point-blank range. The detonation staggered the Guardian. Chen did not get back up. "Chen!" Tors struggled to her feet, rage overriding pain. She grabbed the plasma cutter from her belt and charged. The Guardian swung at her with 2 limbs simultaneously. She slid under the attack, feeling the blades pass centimeters above her helmet, and drove the cutter into the creature's central mass. The plasma burned through organic tissue and metal alike. The Guardian convulsed, trying to dislodge her. Tors held on, pushing the cutter deeper. Around her, the rest of her team concentrated their fire on the same spot, widening the wound. The Guardian's movements became erratic. It stumbled, trying to reach the Queen Mind's brain chamber but failing. Finally, it collapsed, its systems shutting down one by one. Tors pulled herself free and checked Chen. His suit's medical readout showed critical damage, but he was breathing. "Medic, get him stabilized." She turned to the Queen Mind's central intelligence. The massive construct pulsed faster now, aware that its defenses had failed. Tors and the remaining team members approached carefully, weapons ready. "Place the charges around the base," Tors ordered. "Set them for remote detonation. We are getting out of here before this thing decides to take us with it." The team worked quickly, planting high-yield explosives around the neural pathways feeding the Queen Mind. But as they worked, something unexpected happened. The chamber's walls began displaying images. Memories, Tors realized. The Queen Mind was showing them memories. A civilization of beings that looked like crystalline insects, beautiful cities, art and music. Then another species arriving, offering gifts and technology. A device that promised to enhance their evolution. And then horror as the device activated, transforming them against their will into the first Ravagers, consuming their own world, spreading across the stars, unable to stop, slaves to an endless hunger they never wanted. Dr. Hayes's voice came through the comm, shaken. "Tors, I am seeing this too. The Queen Mind is transmitting these images to the entire fleet. The Ravagers were victims. Someone weaponized an entire species and set them loose on the galaxy." "That does not change what we have to do," Tors said quietly. She looked at the pulsing construct, feeling something unexpected, pity. But maybe it means their nightmare finally ends here. She activated the detonation sequence. "All teams withdraw now, 30 seconds until detonation." The team ran for the breach point, carrying Chen between them. Behind them, the Queen Mind's chamber began to collapse as the charges counted down. They reached the boarding craft with seconds to spare, sealing the hatch just as the explosions tore through the organism's core. On the Wellington's bridge, Admiral Cole watched as the Queen Mind's energy signature fluctuated wildly. The massive organism shuddered, its bioluminescent veins flickering like dying stars. Then, slowly, it began to drift, powerless. Throughout the system, every Ravager bioship suddenly went still. They stopped attacking, stopped moving, stopped everything. It was as if someone had turned off a switch. "Admiral, all Ravager forces have ceased hostile actions," the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "They are just floating there." Cole allowed herself to breathe. "Get recovery teams to all our damaged ships, and someone get me a line to Aquani's." Rill appeared on the screen moments later, his bioluminescent patterns showing colors Tors had never seen before. Joy, she realized. The Thalosi were showing joy. "Admiral Cole, we are reading complete cessation of Ravager activity across the entire planet. Is it over? Did you do it?" "My people did it," Cole said. She thought of Chen, wounded but alive. Of Norton, who had pushed her fighter past its limits. Of Tors and her team who had walked into a nightmare and ended it. "Your world is safe, Ambassador." The following days brought changes no one had expected. The dormant Ravagers were carefully corralled by combined human-Thalosi efforts, moved to isolated areas where they could not harm anyone. Scientists, led by Dr. Hayes, began studying ways to possibly reverse the transformation, to free whatever remained of the original species from their biological prison. The Galactic Council arrived a week later, their diplomatic vessels appearing in orbit with offers of aid and assistance. High Counselor Thrain himself came to meet with Admiral Cole and Ambassador Rill. "The Council wishes to express its gratitude for humanity's intervention," Thrain said, though the words seemed difficult for him. and to offer Earth full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges. Cole looked at Rill, then back at Thrain. We did not do this for membership. We did it because it was right, because the Thalosi asked for help and we could give it. Nevertheless, humanity has proven itself worthy. You have shown courage, sacrifice, and compassion. These are qualities we need. On Aquanis, a memorial was constructed in the deepest part of the ocean, where the first human Marines had fought alongside Thalosi defenders. It listed every name of those who had fallen, human and Thalosi together. The inscription was simple. They were asked. They came. They stayed. They won. Commander Voss attended the dedication ceremony, his old body bearing new scars from the battles. He stood beside Sergeant Tors, who had recovered from her injuries. "Your people changed us," Voss said. "We were peaceful because we had never known true threat. You showed us that peace must sometimes be defended with strength." Tors nodded. "And you reminded us why we fight, not for conquest or glory, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Above them, human and Thalosi ships patrolled together, guardians of a world that had been saved by courage and sacrifice. And across the galaxy, other species watched and wondered what humanity would do next. Admiral Cole stood in her quarters aboard the Wellington, looking at a message from Earth. Her superiors wanted a full report. They wanted to know if humanity was ready for the galactic stage. She thought of her crew, of the Thalosi they had saved, of the Ravagers they had freed from their curse. She thought of what it meant to be human in a universe full of wonders and terrors. Then she began to write her report. The first line was simple: "We are ready."